McKenna Palmer once again, and this is probably going to be a very brief video on my Module 4 assignment. I ran into a lot more complications over this past 2 weeks than I thought I would, so I didn't even manage to reach the stretch goals. And while I did hit most of the core requirements, I wasn't actually fully able to get a script running that builds the queries. I just learned about SQL and how to add, well, I guess insert actually is the correct term, insert, modify, delete, and retrieve or query data. And I learned how to create a database with tables to store the data into. So that's what I'll be showing you today. I'll be showing you using another site called Codecademy, just quickly what it would do in real life if I could get the script to run, since my Visual Studios has decided to act up today and I can't actually seem to run my script. But first I'll show you what I have written and explain just generally what SQL does. So first things first, we have our database ready to go and to store tables, but we don't have a table. So we need to create a table. I have two different tables created. One is very, very generic. It was just to get the general idea. Create table, you type that in, you type in the name of the table you want to create, then you type in the name of the column, and the data type is just to tell you it's a column. So we have 3 columns into, well, technically 4 columns in the table that's created, and now I can use the insert function or insert command. I'm not quite sure exactly if I can use the same terms I usually use in coding for some of the SQL things. So after I create a table, you notice it's very different from up above where I added some constraints to the table since it was a lot more fancy. We just create a simple table, and now we're going to insert into that table by column. You could also insert by value and row, but it's just easier for me to do it by column. So inserting by column, I'm going to just insert one value for each column, value 1, value 2, value 3, some value. They're all text. So, but we never really, once again, gave them constraints, so that should be fine. Now if I want to alter or change the table, say I want to add another column, I would use the alter table command. I still don't know what to call that. I use alter table to add a new column. And then, hey, I decide I don't really like some column. It doesn't really fit the aesthetic I have going on. This is where the delete comes in handy. I can delete from my table as long as I clarify which column in the value. And since there's only one value in the column, it pretty much, I think, empties the column. I think you have to do something else to completely delete the column. But now some columns irrelevant. And then last but not least, updating. It's similar to altering, but altering's like adding stuff that wasn't there. Updating's more like changing what is there. So as you can see here, I'm just more reiterating. You had column 1, value 1, column 2, value 2, and some column would be equal to some value once again. Pretty simple. That goes through all the different commands he wanted us to be able to do. Then of course I once again had a fancier table for my actual script if it would work, but since it's not, I'll just give you a quick look at my fancy script. As you can see here, I've tried multiple times and for some reason it can't find my database anymore, which is worrisome. But here, it's my slightly fancier table of authors. We have 5 different columns and they have some fun constraints on them, like the ID is the primary key, meaning it's the most important column of my table, and then most of the other columns are just simple labeling what type of information they'll get. This one's integer, text, all of them won't show up if it's null, or it will probably freak out if it's null. I'm not quite sure, because I actually have never tested it now that I think about it. But the point is, it needs information. You can't not give an age or a pen name or a book name when you're inserting. They're all essential things. The other stuff, yeah, you still need an ID, hence the primary key, and so I assume it works like not null. The only thing I don't really care if I get or not is the book copy, whether it's hardback, paperback, or ebook, but just for fun, I use a text default that if you don't tell me, I'm going to just assume it's a hardback copy. Kind of fun. Me using insert multiple times. And then this is a simple query that just shows me the whole table. And this is a simple query that just shows me the authors by Brandon Sanderson. Pretty cool, right? Which it would be fantastic when it is working, but unfortunately it's not. Not that I ever completely finished this, script to build it on its own. I usually had to hand build or other stuff like that. But that's pretty much what it does, and just before I leave, I'll quickly, I guess, show you how maybe a query would look and how it would work and would actually bring up results using one of these cool programming learning schools, Codecademy. So if I had been able to build my queries, or if my thing had connected to the database, I would have typed in the command to start the script would have built a query, probably a lot more complicated than this one, but this is just a very simple query that grabs the whole table. So if I run it, you see the whole table, yay! Now just for fun, let's see if it lets me do something kind of cool. If not, that would be sad. But let's see if I can just look for a certain thing from the table. Like, let's just look for name. So from celebs, I need to say where. So if I had my script running and I just wanted to find a certain person or a certain column, and I asked my script to do that, it would start running to build the query. It would go select from celebs, need to capitalize this, where name. And then I would run it again, and it would hopefully bring up just the name, like it did here. I think I am slightly off on how I'm supposed to do that, but you get the idea. And so that is my module for this week. It's not as cool as my last 3, and I'm sorry for that, but hopefully my last module will blow your socks off. Thank you for listening to me.